Before taking this class about multicultural education, I didn't really think I was the type of candidate for it. I always kind of believed that I had a very diverse mindset and that a course like this was for someone who was more closed-minded and that needed to be challenged on their opinions. I didn't really think that I myself would be challenged. I kind of thought with my background and how I grew up that I was already very open-minded and had a very diverse mindset, and I was like the people in the Pang article that we read in the beginning of the course where I was kind of thinking like, I'm not racist, I'm not biased, I don't need this course. Taking this course kind of made me look at my background of why I thought the way I did, my present, how I've been changed on how I thought, and then how I'm going to use that in the future. I would definitely say in my past, I thought I had a very multicultural background. I thought since I had friends and a family member of a different race that made me a very multicultural person. I know that I had a lot of friends who their parents were immigrants from Mexico, and like the culture and the language was still a big part of their life. And I thought kind of just by being their friend and by being someone they were close to, that had made me know everything about it. But I never really asked questions about, oh, like what's something important from your culture, what's a story that you've had where you've experienced personal bias because of your race or your ethnicity. I never asked questions about it. I never asked my little brother if he had racial discrimination against him or what it felt like being a minority in such a small town. I kind of took those relationships, I would say superficially, that I thought just because I was in those relationships that did make me a person who had a multicultural mindset. I would say my school didn't really do anything to help change that either. We had a very Eurocentric history course, and the only class that I think I really experienced different cultures was our language class, and that again was something very superficial because our teachers would just be like, oh, here's a food they eat in Mexico, or here's like some funny kissy thing they do in France. They never really went in depth about the culture, the traditions. It was just very top level sort of things. I think taking this course has definitely opened my eyes to challenging, I'd say, my own personal bias on things, and that I need to not be so superficial with those thoughts, that I need to dig deeper, and I need to constantly challenge myself and not just be like, oh, I don't have that mindset. Look at those people. They're the racist ones. I'm just part of this culture that is. I need to challenge that more, and I need to not think of things so much in the past. Like, I have noticed that I thought with the LGBTQA plus, I thought all those problems have been kind of solved, I guess, with the Obergefell versus Hodges, where it made gay marriage legal. I kind of thought, oh, like, gay marriage is legal, problem solved, and like this course made me challenge that thought of like, just because laws have been passed doesn't make the culture more accepting or the culture kinder to how you're living. And I kind of saw that too with the film we watched in class, that It's Elementary, how it opened my eyes. Even though this movie was made in the 90s, we're still struggling to talk about with kids and even kind of adults, to talk about a LGBTQA lifestyle is kind of a taboo subject, and that I don't feel that we talk about it enough, and especially with children. And it's kind of encouraged me to be more open with people about these topics and not be afraid to listen to their opinions and then have them listen to my own, so that we can challenge each other and grow stronger in our opinions, or we can have those challenged and be better people from it. I hope for the future that this will make me an open-minded teacher and an even more open-minded person. I think one of the major lessons I've got from doing this course is that it's okay to point out that people do have differences, because people do, and they're proud of the way they are, and to deny that is to take away that pride they have. And it's not about pointing out those differences and being like, oh, I gotta treat you differently. It's about looking at those differences, respecting them, and treating them the right way to be treated for the situation. And it really made me think about how I'm going to have to, as a teacher, look at different situations and do what's best for these students, what's best for the school, and what's going to allow them to be multicultural individuals that do respect others. It kind of taught me, it kind of hit home for a lot of me. It's about thinking about how we don't talk about a lot of important historical events through a very open-minded lens. We kind of talk about it through kind of an Eurocentric, just kind of very like white man sort of view. And it's kind of tried to push me to think about events that I can talk about with my kids that would open up their minds. I think of how we just talk about Harriet Tubman as just a slave who then freed other slaves, but she was so much more than that. She was an anti-slave activist, and also she was a military leader, and I think we need to talk more about just women and powerful women and women of color. And then I also think about how we often view people of different race and cultures as something of the past. Like, I think about when you talk about Native Americans, it's just, oh, those Native Americans who live in the past, but there's still important events that Native Americans are part of. I think of the Standing Rock protests that have been happening, and how it's important for our children to realize that there are people who are different than them in the world, and we have to, I think by learning, we respect them more and we have a better understanding. And I just feel like I've gotten all of this from this course, and that I can now take it on to my future career and hopefully pass it on to my students.